Hi there, my name's Skip Lackey, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life-Quake Recovery Secret video, where I'm going to be explaining what a life-quake is and how you can recover from it at an accelerated rate. So, life-quakes are devastating. They're life transitions that we go through. We all deal with them. We'll talk about that in the video. And I'm also going to be talking about a model that I've created called the Touchstone. It's a 16-step model which takes people through understanding what makes them tick, how life works, and where you are along your path. You'll be able to pinpoint exactly where you are on your own personal life journey. So let's take a look at the inside. So here's what you're going to learn on this video. You're going to be learning about who experiences life-quake pileups. Well, we'll talk about that in this video. You're also going to be talking about what can I do when they happen? What are some skills that I can do when these life transitions happen to get over them as quick as possible? Where do they happen upon my life's journey? And when will I recover? And how can I get my life back to normal? That's what most of my clients are asking. And why am I still stuck? Why, after months, even years of dealing with this transition, am I still stuck? And how long will I keep feeling this way? We'll also talk about something called the ACE study, the ACE test. In a second video on this page, a little further down, you'll be given the opportunity of taking this 10-question test on adverse childhood experiences and how they've affected how your long-term health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually ends up being. The results on this test are staggering, so be sure to watch that video too. And we're going to be also taking, in that second video that's further down the page, you're going to be given a 14-question resilience test, which shows why some people bounce back from having tough childhood and experiences that might set others back and keep them stuck. Some people respond and bounce back quickly. This will explain why. And then at the very bottom of this page, you're going to have an offer to schedule a 20-minute discovery session with me for free, no obligation. I just want to be able to give back. You might be having some questions after you watch these two videos and read through all the information on this website. It's packed with info. So if you have questions, set that up. It's a 20 to 30-minute call, free, no obligation. I hope you take me up on it. And the last thing is, if you make it all the way to the end of this, you're going to see that there's a place where you could put in an email address to receive an ebook called The 8 Secrets to Raising Your Happiness Set Point. Here's just a visual copy of it. You'll be given a digital download of it, and it has the 8 secrets that I've identified of being able to have these life hacks where it can get you over dealing with depression, anxiety, fear, all kinds of things very quickly. And so take me up on that. I'll send that to you for just being a trooper and watching the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get started with the real meat and the information that I want to share with you today. The Touchstone model. This is about how life happens, how you can live it, respond, and evolve is your choice, because it's going to happen. How you deal with it, that's up to you. So you see here on the left, it says, are you part of the crazy 8%? So what I call the crazy 8% is only about 8%. There was a study that showed that 6 to 9% of people actually finish something that they start. So if we take all the other stuff away from it, what are we left with? We're left with how you're feeling in your heart, and being a part of the crazy 8%, that's a little bit of your mind. So what I want to do is I want to share that. Let's take the 8% away. I mean, the question is really, are you part of the crazy 1%? They get to the end of something and they take action. And it really is only about 1%. And that's my experience with having worked with tens of thousands of clients and people over the years in seminar settings and doing this deep recovery work. My name is Skip Lackey, and I'm the founder of the Life-Quake Recovery Sessions and the creator of the Touchstone Life Recovery Model. I live just outside of beautiful Boulder, Colorado. I have 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. And I'm here because I want to just let you know I appreciate you letting me share my story with you today. I appreciate you listening to the story. And if you're watching, you are definitely part of the 1% that I mentioned earlier that are on a path of growth that are my kind of people. So I want to share that I've cracked the code and found the secret to accelerating a Life-Quake recovery and helping individuals grow beyond their current chaotic life situations to recover and find their purpose again in just a handful of weeks. And I want to share how I do it with you today. I'm going to lay it all out for you in this video. It's too important for me not to. So let's talk about a concept of living a non-linear life. What does that mean? There's a bright slide right here. And on the bottom, it shows a timeline going from left to right. And on the left side, it shows this target of success. Well, what happens is we have this concept about life that we're supposed to start here, right at the bottom. You know, and life is linear. You have a beginning, a middle, and end. We have this goal, and then we go after the goal, and we get the goal, and that's it. You know what? That's kind of a 50s concept, and it's a great concept, but you know what? It doesn't quite happen for most of us. That's not really what happens. What happens is this road to success in life is seldom a straight line. And I'm not saying you're not going to get there, but you have a lot of twists and turns to get to that point. So we need to expect the inevitable twists and turns that are going to happen in life and approach life as a creative problem solver. So when these life quakes and these life transitions show up, we have a strong resilience muscle and we're ready to deal with them. Right? Resilience to life-quake pileups. And I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute. So here's just a quick overview. And I know this looks like a lot on the page. And I'm going to go through it step by step in a few minutes. But I just want to show you that what I've done is I've taken this concept of this nonlinear life and I pulled it apart and made it very linear, step by step. It's a 16-point model, and I'll talk about this and break it down. And this, I'm just going to talk about the overview. I'm not going to go into depth about it today. You know, here's the thing about life. Just when you think your life is going smoothly, somehow the universe has other plans for you, and periodically it throws us a curveball or two, or three, or four, in the form of a major life transition. Major life transition events like this are called life quakes. At least that's what I like to call them. On average, you're going to have about 3 to 5 of these life quake aftershock periods during your lifetime, and they happen to all of us. No one's immune. At some point in life, you will experience them. Some people experience a lot more of just 3 to 5 of them too, right? That's just on average. For example, I've had way more than my fair share of them. So it's not will they happen, it's when will they happen, and are you ready for them? The studies show that when they do happen, the recovery period to feel good again, to come back to your center, to start to thrive once again, can take up to 4 to 6 years on average. That's right, 4 to 6 years. Ugh, that is a big gut punch if you're in the middle of one right now. Now, it's not my intention to scare you and to do anything other than I'm actually just trying to inform you. Because when you know that they are coming and you learn how to deal with them, they're a lot more manageable and they don't take anywhere near as long to get over and heal. You can be prepared, and that will quicken your recovery. And the vast majority of people that I speak to and work with to clear them and educate them have never thought of them in this context. Life-quake events can show up in life at any time, and they do, right? So if you're a human being and you're over the age of about 35 or 40 and you're still breathing, chances are you've been through a few already and know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know how difficult they are. You've been there. You've done that. You know healing from them takes time. When your life gets completely upended by a major life-quake event and you are stuck in the messy middle, it's devastating and it feels like everything is totally out of your control. You are left searching for answers and asking, why? Why? The life you were living is no longer available for you to return to, and that hurts a lot. You're being forced by life to move on and change. But move on to where? To what? By when? How? it puts you in a place of constant confusion and facing change with a capital C. And the truth is, nobody actually likes change. They say they do, but they don't. In fact, I find that people hate change. Our brains are hardwired actually to hate it, because when we face change, we have to face the unknown. And the feeling of not knowing creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. And feeling fear puts us in our sympathetic nervous system, which triggers a stress response. Not to mention that feeling fear feels yucky in the body. Yeah, yucky is the technical term for fear that I use. So this is why people hate change. So here you are, living your life, minding your own business, and boom, a life-quake event happens. It hits you hard, you feel lost, you feel stuck, you're in shock, life is turned upside down, the life that you most likely are living goes into some kind of chaos. And living like that, honestly, is scary as hell. Fear is here. Feels like the death of something. You feel depressed, anxious, maybe numb, or worse. You wake up one day thinking, how the hell did I end up here? This is not what I dreamed that my life would look like when I was a kid. And this cycle can go on for years and years if you don't figure it out. Remember, time does heal, but if the pattern is not interrupted, and the internal coping mechanisms, your beliefs, your vows, your perceptions, your past memories and emotions in your mind, body, and spirit are not rewired to a healthier and happier default pattern, it can take the entire 4 to 6 years for it to heal. I know this might not make a lot of sense yet, but it will in a few minutes, all right? After I fully explain it. So just hang in there with me. Where I'm going with this is well worth it. Let's get back to what's on offer here. Okay, boom, life-quake, pain, and time. Time goes on. What if, think about this, just what if getting your life back on track did not have to take the 4 to 6 years, and it could be achieved in just 4 to 6 weeks, not years, weeks. That you could feel totally different than you do right now in just a few weeks. 1 month from now, 30, maybe 60 days from now. You're probably thinking, really, is that even an option, Skip? Oh, come on. If it is, I don't even know where to start. Yes, it's possible, and I've been coaching people through them for years. I have close to 40 years of experience at helping people find a deeper sense of their inner self-awareness, learn how to heal the past with these powerful forgiveness skills that I take people through, so that they can move beyond their major life pivots. And if I can help tens of thousands of people just like you, I think I can help you too. If you're stuck in the messy middle of a current life-quake recovery and feel lost, knocked off your center, it's important to understand the value of the skills needed to grow a strong resilience muscle to get you through your current life-quake, or especially if you've had what I call a life-quake pileup. When multiple life-quake events happen right on top of each other, that's when getting your life back on track is really tough, and you feel like the universe is conspiring against you. Getting over one life-quake at a time is rough enough, but getting over 2 or 3 or even 4 at the same time, that can use some expert help in coaching. Or time. Remember, studies show it's 4 to 6 years for most people. Not everyone, but most people. Let me give you some examples of challenging life-quake transitions and how they stack up. Okay, so we all experience at some point the death of a loved one and deal with the grief and the grieving process that goes on. Some of us have divorces, deal with separation, or we have to recover from infidelity and the trust and the betrayal that we feel. That's devastating. Maybe you've experienced a serious illness. Cancer, stroke, heart attack, could be inflammation, anything along the lines that's causing maybe a diagnosis of something really serious. Loss of a pregnancy, death of a child, devastating. Dealing with being fired from a job or having career changes, that can really upend our life. That's a huge transition. Or maybe you've had an accident and the aftermath of a near-death experience. It's numbing. The financial upheaval that you maybe have experienced with so many of us through COVID, bankruptcy, the disability of yourself or a loved one. Maybe you're dealing with past trauma that you've had or PTSD. Maybe you've been in the military and you haven't been able to get over that. Suffering from the physical, emotional, sexual abuse. It's shocking how many people have had sexual abuse in their time. And these days, with gaslighting and all the emotional abuse that's happening, it's overwhelming for folks. Recovery of a traumatic childhood. We'll talk about that in the ACE study. That's huge. And if you don't recover from a traumatic childhood as you age, and we'll talk about this around this study, the effects mentally, physically, emotionally are huge. It's not an option if you've had a traumatic childhood. You've got to do this kind of work. Addiction issues, maybe yours or loved ones, and dealing with them and more. All of these are life-quake transitions, and there's so many of them, but they can stack up and you can be going through one, and just when you're in the process of recovering, another one hits. And another one. I know I've dealt with the death of a brother, and my mother passed away recently. We had COVID. There was some financial upheaval. It happens. We all are susceptible to these stacking up. I know. I've been there myself on multiple occasions. And over the last 25 years, I've helped over 25,000 people and counting heal and find their core once again. And I've helped them experience a new sense of freedom and get their life back on track. And I've taught over 1,000 workshops where we've taught the techniques all over the world. So with that much experience, I've seen just about every possible scenario with a client that you can imagine. So rest assured, there's really no issue or stack of issues too big for me to work with. As I've said, I've also experienced it myself. In fact, I've been there multiple times. I've had 3 major life-quake pileups during my active life. One in my 20s, one in my 30s, and one in my 50s. Yes, 3. And honestly, the first 2 were not very pretty. I got through them, and I'm not particularly proud of how. If you get to know me better, I'll share some stories of what I've experienced over the years that became the catalyst to the work that I'm sharing today. And I do hope that we get to talk at some point. And because of all that I've been through and all that I've learned, you get to benefit from my past pain and me going through the hard-headed do-it-yourself route over the years to get where I am today. And you get to access my elegant shortcuts to getting your life back. Here's the thing. I develop my work out of necessity. It's a deep, process-oriented solution that I discovered to get myself back on my own feet again, and it works for just about everyone else that I do it with. And I want to share it with a small, select group of people brave enough to face their deepest, most personal stuff. Those willing to own their stuff and do the inner work that it takes to move forward in life again. It's a complementary form of cellular healing transformation through deep forgiveness of ourself and others and self-awareness process work. Everyone can benefit from it, and really only about 8% of people who learn about it are willing to do this type of work. So are you part of that 8%? And I would love nothing more than to help you wake back up to the authentic you and get your life back on track. No need for a 4 to 6 year path of postponement. It's time to move on, and I'm excited to support you to do the same and witness your success too. So over the next 30 minutes, I want to rock your world and introduce you to an overview of my model, a compilation of 40 years of working in the healing arts. So you get an idea of the power of my work and where I'm coming from. And it will give you a deeper understanding of just how life works from a very new perspective, and how you can make it work for you too, to take this nonlinear life experience and unravel it so it makes sense. So I call it the Touchstone, a way to find your center and be in the flow of life no matter what is going on around you. And remember, at the end of this presentation, I promise to give you 2 amazing gifts for being a trooper and part of the 1% of people that are actually going to make it to the end of the video. First gift, any questions you have, any questions at all about the model or the Life-Quake recovery session work that I do, how it works, how it can work for you, anything, I'll give you the opportunity to jump on a free one-on-one private Zoom call with me for 20 minutes and get all of your questions answered. And I want to do it with absolutely no obligation. My mission is to help people. This is how I give back. Next, I also want to give you a new digital version of a short ebook that I've put together called The 8 Secrets to Raising Your Happiness Set Point. It's a 30-day challenge laid out very simply of some things that you can do every day that just take a few minutes. And it's packed with valuable scientifically based info about how you can ramp up your own natural optimist and feel better on so many levels in just 30 days. And do it self-guided on your own. And I want to give this to you. It's free. It's based on studies, years of research by people much smarter than I am. And I've compiled it to help people that want to cultivate more happiness in their daily lives. It's easy, simple to follow, okay? It's my gift to you for just finishing this video for free. So, first things first, let's take a look at my Touchstone model. And I've been working on this for over 10 years as a compilation of 40 years of the work I've been doing with people. And honestly, other than a few people that I've shared it with, you are the first people to really see it. And I'm excited to share it with you. So let me start at the beginning. What is a touchstone? So according to Webster's dictionary, the definition of a touchstone, a test or criterion for determining the quality or genuineness of a thing. It's also a stone that's used to test the purity of gold and silver by a streak left on the stone rubbed by metal. So if you look at the synonyms, it's a barometer, a benchmark, the gold standard, it's a measure, a metric, standard, yardstick. And it's a metaphor that really means that anything that can be used to find excellence in something. So this is an opportunity for us to come back, use this touchstone to come back and find our center again and again. Because remember, we'd like to think that life is a straight line, but it's not. We have to learn how to navigate the inevitable twists and turns to become a creative problem solver and bring more resilience to Life-Quake pileup. So when we understand that it's all the twists and turns and we're going to pull it and make it linear to be able to dissect it, it makes life a lot easier. So we're going to start with the touchstone and this story about a shining diamond. And there was a story that said that when we're born, we come into life as a little baby, as this perfect, pristine, shining diamond that's inside us. Basically, it's the essence of our soul. It's our source. It's this beauty and this innate value that we all carry. And then what happens is, as life goes on, things happen to us. So here's this model. The first three phases of development, if you think about it, we're going to look at them as Roman numerals. Phase 1, 2, and 3. And this starts from the W is the womb from about the time we're 12 years old. And again, there's a lot more behind this. I'm just going to give you the overview. Your brainwave speeds are speeding up into full bright waking consciousness by the end of your 12th year. So everything you see, hear, feel, touch, smell, experience goes into your brain and into your memory bank in a way that everything's in there. It's almost like you're in trance. So that's the formation of your identity, the I, the id, the ego. Now, from 13 to 25, your brainwave speeds up around 13. And now they have new information that says that until you're 22 and 25, you're still in adolescence. Your brain is still forming. It's creating neuropathways. So what do we have here is this I in the second Roman numeral is the formation of the identity, which is now turned into the ego. And we are spending these years bumping into other people's egos to see how we can connect. How do I connect? How do I fit in? What do I do? Where's my self-esteem? This is where the self-esteem plays in, which, interestingly enough, is very low by the time you graduate high school. It's only 5% of kids have self-esteem. When they graduate high school, if they go on to graduate college, it's only 2%. Where 93% of all kids at the age of 5 have a high sense of self-esteem, so it gets wiped out during this period. Now we go into this next section of our life, and it's around 21 to 40-ish, and this is pretty loose here. But what happens is our focus goes into the level 3. So the first part of the level is we get out of school or we get out of high school or college, and we focus all of our energy on a career, and that becomes our main focus. And then we try to find a partner, and we partner up with someone. And if that turns into a marriage, then our third level is our primary relationship becomes we are somebody's parent, we're their guardian. So we go through career partnership, which becomes our primary focus, and then being a parent or a guardian. Now, it can be any mixture of this, and you can go in and out of it, but this is where this development happens until we move into level 4. And level 4 is oftentimes, and this can happen along the way at any time, I'm just trying to break this down so it's understandable, where a life-quake happens. So we're climbing up life, we're just dealing with it, getting by, going through things with our big I, our identity, our ego, and we're trying to climb over our life-quake because we know that there's something on the other side, in the V, in the 5, but we don't know how to get there. Right? What's there is something very special and unique. And again, we know it's there, we just don't know quite how to get there. And it's a connection to our source. And when we can connect to that, it changes everything in life. It's a huge opportunity for growth when we can connect to that part of ourselves. And when we do, we can go in really into level 5, 6, and 7. So level 5 is connection with the source inside. It's the cup, energy inside. What is that? It's a spiritual connection that attaches us all. Einstein talked about that being, God being in between the particles and its presence. It's different names: source, creator, God, nature, spirit. It can be love. It can be soul. But it's the filling of that cup to where we know that there's something a little greater. All religions have talked about it in the form of the holy grail, so to speak. So once you get connected to this, the I that was on the previous side, on the 4, is now on the other side of the 5, which comes to number 6. Now, at this point in the model, this is where we learn how to really connect with the self and start to expand the fact that our identity and our ego, that is right there, is now on this side. We're connected, but we still have all the history, all the memories, all the beliefs, everything. And this is where the real work gets done. But we have to be able to learn that connection to the self is what gives us the ability to really start to rest in self-awareness. And then we start to work on how do we connect with others, because they have identities and we're connecting with our identity. So we learn how to really expand love, to listen, to be present, to give of ourself, to be empathetic, to be compassionate. Not to say that we haven't developed that earlier, but this is when we really have to learn how to do it, because if we're not that with somebody, they don't stick around very long, right? And so once you've been able to do that, the next level is to really go to level 8. Now I'm going to take 8 and move away from Roman numerals for a second, just be the number 8. And what if I were to take the 8 and turn it on its side? What's that sign? You know what that is. It's the infinity sign. So we're learning how to be in the flow with life. We're learning how to be in the infinite. And this becomes our life's practice, is to just learn how to be present and in the flow and accept the moment-to-moment experiences that show up and embrace them. Because life happens, how we deal with them becomes our life's practice. Now, once we go through this level 8, I always call that playfully to infinity and beyond, the old Buzz Lightyear concept, because this is where we start to learn in our practice and the understanding of all the unconscious programmings that start to happen. We deal with something that I think is one of the most powerful self-awareness tools called the Enneagram. If you don't know about it, write that word down, ENNEAGRAM, and take a look at it. We learn conscious communication skills, how to communicate with ourselves at a deeper level, how we operate, how to use different aspects of communication. Relationships, that is a lifelong study on how to be in relationships, because our egos and our identities are constantly coming up against it. how to fulfill ourselves at work. We spend most of our waking hours at work. So how do you learn how to do that? A lot of people want to separate, work from their home life. You can't. We want to be engaged. We want to have purpose and passion and a vision. And really it being in the flow and taking self-awareness where you can see from a drone view, the 30,000 foot drone view, so important to escaping that pit of pain, that feeling that when someone says something or do something, or you say or do something, you get that feeling of that twist in your gut, to expanding love. And that really comes with the connection of being able to selflessly love ourselves first and foremost, right? It's like that concept of flying. You have to take the mask and put it on yourself before you can put it on those around you. And we do that by changing our habits, changing our beliefs, changing the vows that we've created when we were younger, healing the past and the forgiveness skills that I've been mentioning, which creates an abundance on so many different levels of the how-tos, right? Living life on mission, on purpose, and all the little life hacks and shortcuts that can be learned. Because what happens is once you go from 8 and you start to learn all these things, we get to 9. So here we are at number 9, which is the I for the identity, and the big X marks the spot, which is basically facing our mortality. X marks the spot. That's, level 10. And what happens is if we don't face mortality, which we all have to at some point, the older we get, it becomes right in our face. Mortality will just come around and be this big foreboding elephant in the room. And what is it? It's fear. It's fear of the unknown. What does that mean? When the truth is, what are we really fearing? Yeah, we're fearing death. We're fearing the totality of the end of our time here in life. And so many people, because it is scary, until you start to really learn what that is and what's on the other side. But if we just take away the concept of death and we're looking at this, right? What's really there is the X is a big hourglass where our time is running out, and every day that we're here is one less day that we're going to be here. I mean, that's the honest truth about it. But we have that fear. X marks the spot. But you know what? We just really have to learn that as time starts to run out, what are we going to do? Are we going to experience fear for the rest of our lives? No, we have to learn how to stand right in the middle of the fear and be with it. Successful people feel fear, right? They just do things anyway. They just don't let the fear stop them. So the next level in this 16-step model is consciously accepting our mortality and learning that creates an enhanced flow and a growth interaction with the self. Once that identity is on the other side, we've had these practices, the identity is there and we're in the flow. And then we can do it with others, other people in our life, at home and at work, and we're in the flow. And then we can learn how to integrate it in all aspects of our life and be in the flow, because all of these things are interconnected. They're connected with being in the flow. So 10, 11, 12, 13, here we are in level 14. What is this? This is, as we start to get older, the X marks the spot. We have the identity, which is on the other side of it as 11. Now we're facing 5. Again, that is connection. That's the spiritual connection with whatever you want to call your creator, right? Time is running out. We're connecting to our source. That's all that really matters. And as people start to age, they realize that the little stuff doesn't matter anymore, right? So let's just say that's what it's about, is the identity of being able to be connected to source. Because as we really go there and we start to age in life, right, we realize that it's all about the grail and the connection. Because the crossing over of the I, which, what is there? I mean, that identity we're crossing over, but crossing over, it's a spiritual experience, but where are we going? We'd like to know. We don't know. We'd like to think that we do. Religion tells us, experience tells us, people with near-death experiences share, but we don't really know. We've never experienced it, so it's scary until we just accept that it's the inevitable and our time is running out. But here's the thing. So many people, they get to that first midlife crisis, which is kind of in a life-quake, because midlife is a misnomer. It really doesn't happen at 40. It happens at any time. And we're there, and it happens, and we're trying to climb over that great big wall to be connected. But we go, hey, what do I do? What now? I don't know what to do. And what happens is another life-quake happens. We go back into the confusion pattern. We're lost. We're stuck. And then we're even more stuck. And we stay there because we don't take the time and effort or have the skills to get to the other side and that connection to source. And we miss a huge opportunity for the growth in life that takes us there. And for so many people, they just don't. They stay on the other side of the connection because they just don't know how to get there. And they slide down life. Life happens to them. They move through their 50s, into their 60s, into their 70s. They're facing their mortality, right? They haven't cleared their adverse childhood experiences. They go into their 80s, and that's all they have to look forward to. So they're trying to live their best life, but they've missed so much more because that's all there is. X marks the spot because they don't have that spiritual connection. They might, but a deeper spiritual connection. So then what happens? If we take the context of this away, and we take away connection to Creator, to Source, and we take away the connection to the divine, and that's gone, and the heart's gone, the connection with self and others is gone. We take away the flow, the infinite is taken away, all of that connection with learning how to be able to embrace our mortality, facing death, all of that. And all we really have left is this concept of fear, X marks the spot, and that eventually we're crossing over. Where does that leave us? It leaves us living our life feeling lost and uncertainty, being in the pain and suffering of the fear that's everywhere in life when you don't have this connection with something greater. So let's take away the fear for a moment because it doesn't really exist when we're doing our practice. Let's take away the pain and suffering, and let's let the feeling of loss and uncertainty fall away, because you know what? It can. You don't need to hold on to that. It's not holding on to you. You're holding on to it because you're holding on to the unknown. And just for a moment, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the awareness of ourselves as a shining diamond. We've come in to life perfect. We know that we have this. You know what it's like to be connected to something greater. You've known since you were little that there was something, some greatness inside of you. But you know what? Life happens, right? To all of us. Life quakes happen. And it's time to just get real and heal the past and move on to a new compelling future by just being in the moment and being who you are. So, Louise Hay said, when we begin to work on ourselves, sometimes things get worse before they get better. It's okay that happens. It's the beginning of the process. It's the untangling of old threads, the old identities. Just flow with it. It takes time and effort to learn what we need to do. Don't demand instant change. And patience is only resistance to learning. It means you want the goal without going through the process. Let yourself do it step by step. It will be easier as you go along to untangle those old threads, right? Because if you don't know where you're going, every road will get you there. It will. So you can get there on your own. You surely can. It just takes a little bit longer, right? And you can do your shelf development. It's possible. You can read all the books, get it over time, or you can speed the process up with coaching, personal experience, and being around a mentor, study, masterminds, peer support. You're going to get there quicker. Here's what happens when you have a life quake. We want to think it's a linear thing, but boom, a life quake happens, and then we start to go through this process of healing as we go through the aftershock, and we start here with the realization of, oh my God, this is what happened. Then we move into the aperture stage when you're opening up your mind and heart like a camera, and you're just taking a wider focus. That's really necessary to say, okay, what really just happened? What do I feel? And then we go into attainment and attunement, which is we really need to reconnect with our source and soul so that we can heal from the past, because this awareness that we're practicing at level 8, we begin to be in the flow, and now we have emotional intelligence. EQ score, they call it, is so much more important than IQ. It doesn't stand a candle to the IQ. EQ is so much more important. And then we go into the accountability phase with our own inner frame of what's important to us and having the integrity, right? Integrity is what you do when no one's watching. And then we go into the amnesty phase where we have to forgive ourselves and forgive others and empty out of the pain. Then we go into acceptance just for what is and being mindful of the moment and being able to let those little moments come and go. The acceleration is where we start to have very little resistance to what is, and we just let things move through us really quickly. Then we move into the authenticity phase, which is you, when you're being your authentic self. That's finding your core again, so that then you can step back into abundance of yourself. Abundance of finances, love, energy, time, period, passion, whatever it is, right? It's the shining diamond within. But here's the thing. This is the process that we go through to get through life quakes, right? And we're moving through them and we're moving along, and all of a sudden, boom, another life quake happens. And we haven't finished that process. Or a second or a third pile up and interrupts our flow. So that part that we've gotten through, we have to go back in the direction, kind of start over again. And we go back into the aftershocks phase. And then we start to move through it again. But this time, another one happens. Boom. And we get stuck. And we don't move forward. And we get lost. And the structure is there. And we get caught between these two. And we can't move forward very easily. So do you know how you got where you're at? You might now that you've seen this model, but do you really know how you got where you're at with your childhood and the formation of your identity and what's going on? Do you know what you want your life and your future to look like? Have you actually sat down and put pen to paper? Said, this is what I want. Acknowledging that something needs to change is the first step to creating a new future and a new future you. We have to take our awareness, our vision, and expand our horizon and be honest with ourselves. We have to take that 30,000 foot view, that drone view, and see our behavior. You have to know what you know, and more importantly, you have to know what you don't know, right? You have to take the first step, know what you know, one step at a time, make a choice, move in a direction, take that next step, and then take the next step. One step at a time, we'll get there. Because we really all need to know that if you could accelerate your personal growth, who you are, what you're about, what would that be worth to you? What would that be worth to you if you could accelerate your personal growth? Can you even place a monetary value on it? Our brains will use whatever map you give it. So give it the right map at the right time, and that will move you along this 16-step model much quicker. Because one step at a time, and those steps can happen really quickly when you have somebody that's guiding you and understands how those unfold in a way that's very powerful. You practice being more mindful in the moment. It's one day at a time, but that can happen quickly, right? We have to practice seeing the horizon, becoming more expansive, and allowing our hearts, our minds, our souls to become more self-aware, to see our behaviors, our habits, what we need to shift and change, what's really true for us, what's not true, stop being defensive, control, complying, and rebelling. And really just taking that little flame that's inside, practicing more and more self-care to be more connected with ourselves and with others so that we can really allow love to be fostered inside of us and to generate that empathy, kindness, compassion. That's what it's about. That's what all this is really about. Now, some of us can see that horizon, and we just need to get out and be in moments in nature. Nature is beautiful. Nature can be used as a therapeutic device to allow our hearts to soar. We feel more connected to ourselves and others when we're experiencing that. So get out in nature, right? And also be willing to see the big picture and see life linearly and look at the whole big picture, because we're going through tremendous amounts of stress. We've been through a lot of stress with COVID and everything that's been going on, and that creates some negative. There's some good stress called eustress, but once it crosses that line, it's not good for your body, for your parasympathetic nervous system, because we start to protect. Our body shuts down, our organs shut down, and we go into a protection mode. And when we're in health, right, that's a positive. When we're feeling good, when we're having the honeymoon effect, where we feel so good about ourselves, our hormones come back in balance and all of our organs start to operate on a healthy way, and we have growth. So you've got growth on one side, protection on the other. Protection equals stress, and that can cause dis-ease in the body when we're living our life from a place of fear. We're looking at this big picture. We want to live more in health. So what do we need to live more in? We need to live in connection, in joy, in love. And we need to connect more and be more of that. That's what's important. Being in the center and being able to recognize, okay, here I am. Okay, come back to the center. And then once you come back to the center out of the protection and move that direction, we find our center, we can also then start to realize, oh, here are the things that we could do to move towards health and growth and connection and more joy and love in our lives. Because that's what we really want more of. We want to take away the disease and fear, live more in connection, love, and joy, because it's your choice. It is a choice on how you do it. It just flat out is. A lot of people would like to think you don't have a choice. You do. So here's one of the things that we need to look at, emotion. We need to look at our emotions on a daily basis. And if we look at the word emotion and we break it down, emotion, E equals mc square. Who said that? That's Einstein's theory of relativity. E equals mc square. What's the E? What is the E in equals mc square? Well, that's right, it's energy. You remember that. Emotion. What if the E in emotion equaled energy in motion in your body? And some of that energy is just more comfortable to feel than others. So we don't give emotion a good and bad concept. We don't try to rank these emotions. All emotion is energy. What we do with it is our choice on how we experience it. Anger, sadness, fear, all those are just as powerful at healing as love, joy, connection, peace, serenity. It's all the same. It's just energy. We need to learn how to channel that emotion. Now, we talked about this, the ACE study. This is a study that I will go through on another video, but right now, if you're looking at this video, go to my website, life-quake.com, and there'll be another video where I'll give this test. It's 10 questions that can change your life, and it's how trauma during childhood can impact our health and wellness. It's just 10 simple questions, and when you get your ACE score, it's powerful. The impact is the more of these scores that you have, and personally, I score a 4, and I've recognized that. Thank God that I've done some of this, because my childhood, I had a bit of a rough childhood. There were things that happened that score on this ACE study. And as the number increases, so does the risk for negative health outcomes. So the behaviors, lack of physical activity, smoking, alcoholism, drug use, missed work, severe obesity, diabetes, depression, suicide attempts, STDs, heart disease, cancer, stroke, COPD, broken bones, go to the website that I have, and I'll walk you through a separate video that'll give you the test, that'll ask you the 10 questions, and then I'll go through more of these possible health outcomes. What can be done to counteract an emotionally rough childhood if you score 3, 4, or more? Well, we must counteract the trauma with a lifetime of introspection and healing. And how do we do that? Well, we develop more of a growth mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow rather than a fixed mindset. When you have a fixed mindset, you're either good at something or not. You're frustrated, you give up, you don't have a lot of resilience. Understanding this perception model is really important. This is something called neurolinguistics programming. Understanding that what you see on the outside run through a series of filters and this deeper structure that creates your emotions, your internal dialogue, your physiology, your behavior, and then all of that, after it goes through the filters and runs through this deeper structure, we add surface structure of language, and we wonder why people don't understand what we're saying, feeling, and meaning when we're experiencing it. Also, dealing with positive childhood experiences, PCEs. I just came across this not too long ago. Bamboo you planted, it does not grow for 5 years, but when it does, it grows literally a foot a week. And it is so resilient and flexible because its roots have taken a long time to grow deep and strong. And it can withstand gale force and hurricane force winds. That's the power of bamboo, and it doesn't break. It's resilient. And there's a resilience score in this questionnaire. Now, this is another test that I'm going to put onto the ACE study when you take a look at this. So I'm not going to go through this now. There's 14 questions that you get asked, and you give yourself definitely true, probably true, not sure, probably not true, definitely not true. The higher you score on the probably true or definitely true, the easier it is to move through your Life-Quake situations, and also the easier it is to recover from these big life transitions. So again, life-quake.com, write that down, and you're going to go to a separate video so that I can give you more time if you want to do that on the page. Now, the gift of the Enneagram, I mentioned this earlier. What's your personality? And you're hardwired into who you are. There's this concept that we come into life facing one of 9 directions. It's drives, names, avoidances, very powerful of understanding that your behavior is hardwired. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this, I was pissed off when I learned who I was, when I was in the awareness of seeing this, because I thought, wow, I'm a chapter in a book. I thought I was special and unique. I'm not. But you also realize that everybody else is being driven by unconscious programming. This is the 1, 2, 3 of my model really came from, to get to the point where you cross over in 5 and get to 6, 7, and 8, and you start to learn these things. This is really level 6, where you can really start to understand that there's an opening here for huge growth, right? So let's talk about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? This is the development of the identity through 4. You reach 5, you fill up your cup, right? It's a connection to your source. Then from there, you can develop this conscious awareness into level 8, which is the infinite. And you can rest in that infinite. And that just gets bigger and bigger as you just learn how to just be in the moment and live in the flow. Then you go into 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And the I and the shadow that's there of this identity that crosses over into where we don't know, right? But most people, they're just focused on the X. X marks the spot. We have to learn how to consciously embrace our mortality and be in connection, realizing that our time is running out. We have to live our life in the flow, in happiness. It's so important, because when we get to the end of our life stream and that X marks the spot, the question is, are we connected? Can we live a fearless death? The Buddhists have this process of learning how to die consciously. I'm not saying that we go into these Buddhist practices, but until we learn how to face a life that is not afraid of dying, how can we really live? right? Because what's on the other side, we don't know. And we'd like to know we don't. What we do know is that identity is there, and it follows us through our whole life. This big I, the id, the ego, and we'd like to turn it when we do pass on into this presence and transcend. But the truth is that identity and that shadow is always there behind. Our practice is to go to infinity and beyond. I play with that, but really it's a practice of living in the flow and being in infinity. EV love, the energy of the connection in love. And if you took the word evolution and you turn it around and you spell it backwards, it spells no I to love, no identity. We've got to be with the shadow. We've got to learn about it. But we don't just think that that's who we are and just love that identity and just build our shields around it. We have to learn how to shift and change it, right? Because if we stay stuck at level 4, we don't get the rest of the experience. We've got to move beyond that, move beyond 10 and death, move to the point where we're in the flow and we're being able to just really be present, mindful, in the moment, let life going through us like a screen door and letting those little moments in life, those Life-Quake moments, just move through us effortlessly without having to worry about it, right? Because Life-Quakes happen and we need a touchstone. If you're experiencing this and this has resonated with you in some way and you've gotten something from this, which I hope you have because I really laid it all out here like I promised I would at the beginning, this is just scratching the surface. This is not the depth of it. This is just an overview of an understanding that you can see that this is well thought out. And this is how I can speed up these Life-Quake recoveries. So are you part of the crazy 8% that you've made it maybe this far? But the truth is, are you part of the crazy 1% that you're going to take action and do something? Again, start here. We have a goal. We think it's linear. It's not. We're going to take that linear fashion away. Not a straight line, right? We have to learn how to navigate it. And we pull it apart by making it a straight line so we can understand it. But the inevitable twists and turns are going to happen. Approach life as a creative problem solver so that we can have resilience to Life-Quake pileups, because they will happen. So, where do I start? What do I do first? Slight edge is what's called, or the Kaizen effect. Maybe you've heard of it before. Taking small, simple actions. First simple action that I would recommend is send me an email, info@lifequakerecovery.com, or decide that you want to have one of these conversations with me. You'd like to speak to me in person. It's free. Please reach out. I really, want to speak and meet with people who are willing to live life at this level. So if you create 1/3 of 1% change every day, that's just 1/3 of 1%. You make a little shift by spending some time working on yourself. Over 365 days, that's 122% shift. And no one's perfect, so you're probably going to have about 65 days a year where you're not going to have any change, or you're going to take a couple steps backwards. But still, in 1 year, over time, that's still 100% shift, a 180 turnaround. And if you keep it up and you keep doing shifts and changes and you leverage it, second year, that's 200% that you then shifted. And year 3, that's 400% because you will have gotten that much more, and then you're going to double it. Year 4, 800%. Year 5, it's the law of compound. 1,600% change in your life by taking small, simple actions, right? So what's your small, simple action? Do you need some support? Sometimes all of us do. Even the mighty oak tree, that's not an oak, but even the mighty tree sometimes needs a hand. And I'm here as a coach to help you if you're looking for that. Because have you ever felt like you were on a hamster wheel and you just couldn't get off of it? This is what happens when we live at level 4. It's a hard thing to leave any deeply routine life, even if you hate it. John Steinbeck said that, the great author. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it will elude you. But if you turn your attention to other things, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder. That's Thoreau, and just being able to sit and be at level 8 and do that. The human spirit lives on creativity and dies in conformity and routine. Ben Franklin, when you are finished changing, you're finished. It's about change and embracing that. Aristotle, happiness depends upon ourselves. You can't depend on anybody else. Now, you can get some guidance, some coaching, and a hand up, but you've got to make that decision. And this is by a gentleman by the name of Randy Pausch. This is very powerful. When I read this book, it really struck me. He wrote a book called The Last Lecture. And this is a quote about hitting the wall and what I look at as level 4. This level is a shutdown function in life. When you've hit the proverbial wall, and life is either challenging you to do more or trying to get you to stop and quit so that you don't experience any more failure or fear in life. And at times, even though we get through it, we hit this wall again and again. Our job is to know what is on the other side of it. There's a source connection, right? And keep chipping away at the wall until you get beyond it. So what's in the middle of this? It's showing us the way through, right? It's connection, source, God, presence, soul, the universe. You know it. You certainly wouldn't have been watching this video so long if you didn't know this. And if you didn't know it, now you do. So what are you going to do about it? And the real question is, are you ready for what is on offer with this information? Most of you aren't. Some of you will be. Do you have the passion and the fire inside to go deep inside, do the work, and discover it? Because you know what? As I said, I've just been touching the surface. There is a lot more. And this is just a few of the slides that we go into depth. Every one of them is a teaching. There's a little poem. Come to the edge, he said. We can't. We're afraid, they responded. We can't. We will fall, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. And so they came. And he pushed them. And they flew. You're standing at the edge. I'm here to catch you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to help be that mentor, that guide, that coach, because I've been there. I've done that with lots of people. And just about every single person that I work with gets on the other side. But are you ready for what's on offer? To grow beyond the fear, recognizing that time is running out. That's all it is. It's the fear of our time is running out and that unconsciously we know it. Or you can rest in the fear and stuck and go back to where you were going and just turn this video off. It's no problem. Right? So the touchstone, life happens, how you live it, respond, and evolve is your choice. Are you part of the crazy 8%? Or do you want to live your life from heart and get rid of the 8% and be part of the 1%? That's the question. So I told you what you would learn on this video. You now know who experiences Life-Quakes pileups. We all do. What can I do when they happen? You live your life at level 8 and be in the flow and every day learn a little bit. Where do they happen along the journey? Anywhere and everywhere. They do and they stack up. When will I recover and get back to normal? Well, that's up to you. You can wait your 4 to 6 years, or you can reach out, give me a call at the bottom of this page. Why am I still feeling stuck and how long will I keep feeling this way? Again, that's up to you. But you understand why, because of adverse childhood experiences, your identity, the formation, the Enneagram, there's so much there. We talked about the ACE score. Again, if you're interested, you can go to the website and there'll be a whole video talking about this. Your resilience score, that'll be there too. Now, for those of you who have stayed until the end, you're going to receive a free ebook, The 8 Secrets to Raise Your Happiness Set Point. And you're also getting an offer to just book a free 20-minute discovery call with me live on Zoom. Just you and I. We'll talk. These are the two things. So where do you get that, right? And what is that? So let's just pull all of this away because this is what we learn. That's all in your unconscious. Near the bottom of this page, you will see a place to sign up for the free no obligation discovery call to accelerate and heal your current Life-Quake pileup. Take me up on that. A little further down, you're going to see a spot. that you can just give me your email address and I will send you my 8 Secrets to Raising Your Happiness Set Point ebook as my gift for watching until the end of this video if you've made it this far. Oh my God. So life-quake.com. And if you have any questions, email me directly at info@life-quakerecovery.com. You know what to do. Please reach out to me. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I teach workshops on this. I'm going to be teaching them again soon. I've developed all this and brought it out as a brand new model during COVID after having just done this 101. But if you want to get through your life quake and you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to help you along your way. Many blessings, many, many blessings. The best on your journey.